Okay. So, as ever, questions from last week. I kind of assumed there were some because nobody had answered the question in the chat. 42 out of 71 means that's the number of people that handed in the assignment from last week. Was there a particular reason? Was it just much harder this week, or were you too busy getting in your last minute run around everywhere before you're locked down, Abby? I'm not sure.
See, I had a problem with my PyCharm. It was like reading my code, but it was outputting the wrong things for some reason. I don't know what it was. So I uninstalled everything and reinstalled it all over again, yet it's still giving me the same errors. So I don't know how to fix it.
Before you laugh at him, you actually gave me his code and I ran it myself, and like my own PyCharm gives the correct outputs. Like for his code, like it's the exact same code, but like his PyCharm does some weird stuff, and for me it works.
Make sure you've chosen the right Python interpreter. There was a point where Python would, where PyCharm would default to version 2 of Python instead of version 3, and that's really bad. There's any of the 3 versions is fine, but there was such a big change from version 2 to version 3 that code will do weird things. So make sure you go into the settings and make sure you've chosen the right version. If you're not sure about it, grab one of us in the lab and have a wee one-to-one, share your screen with Glenn, Pablo, or Enrique, and they'll take you through it. Have a wee look and see if they can see anything.
Alright, yeah, that's fine.
Anybody else? Anything in particular in any of the labs that you want me to go over? No? You're all very quiet this morning. Is it just the idea of being locked down for another month? You just can't take it anymore?
It's very early in the morning.
I barely got out of bed like 8 minutes ago.
I'm shocked. I personally have been up since 5 a.m. I did a 6-mile jog along the beach, had a 2-mile swim, and then come back and made breakfast for the whole family. So I'm just really shocked at you guys.
Wait, give me a minute. I can pick past my window there.
Are you suggesting that there's a semblance of dissembling in that statement?
I mean, it could be entirely true, but it looks a bit fuzzy. No.
I don't know. You try and inspire students.
Yeah. I done a marathon this morning as well.
I know, I'm too old for a marathon now. Goes for my knees. All right. If there's no questions, I'm genuinely a bit concerned that there was only 40 odd out of 70 odd handed in their assignment. So those of you who didn't do it, some of you already have been in touch and explained the reasons. If you are struggling, now is the time to get help. That's why there's 4 of us sitting in that lab. It's to give you help. Okay, so if you're struggling with anything, just ask. That's what we're there for. We can't always guarantee it away from the lab because, not surprisingly, we've got other lectures and other labs and everything as well. But during the lab time, that's exactly what we're there for, so please ask us. So the 30 of you that didn't hand this stuff in, if you're struggling with it, just ask. We'll be more than happy to help. If there's anything in particular for the 30 of you, send me a chat, drop me an email, do whatever. But please, the worst thing you can do is hide, because everything that we're doing builds on stuff from the week before. So if you struggle at one bit, you might think, oh, it's okay, I'll catch up. But actually it means you'll struggle with the next week and the week after and the week after. And I really don't want that to happen. I want you to keep up as we're going along. So please ask us if you need help, okay? All right, that said, let's get started with today's lecture. I really do need to have words with Jerry, don't I? This is...
Yeah, who needs coffee when you have that to wake you up?
By the way, just from curiosity, this is the national anthem of Scotland? Or...
No, the national anthem of Scotland is Yes Sir, I Can Boogie.
Okay, okay.
You might need to be Scottish to get that one.
Yeah, no, when that happened, I screamed the house down, to be perfectly honest.
You think you screamed them? Wait till you see the video of Andy Considine and his stag night in full drag singing it.
Oh, I'm absolutely buzzing to see that one.
Okay, what I want to do today is talk a wee bit about menus. So actually it's stuff that we've spoken about before and stuff that you've identified yourselves when we've done it. So we've been getting input and we've been checking what it is and doing specific things. And you'd rightly identified before some of the issues about what happens if it's what they put in doesn't exist, or a format that we weren't expecting, or all these other kinds of things that can easily happen. So that's what I want to talk about today. So it's about setting up menus for your programs and allowing users to interact with them. Sorry, I'm just having a wee bit of trouble with PowerPoint here.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Give me 2 seconds. It's a wee bit temperamental today. Better. Problem was, I think you could see it, but I couldn't, which is a bit tricky when I'm trying to tell you what's going on. I'll put the PowerPoint. It should be available on Aula now, and I'll grab it off there and put it on Teams as well. If it's not available just now, it will be very, very soon. I'll also put the lab onto Teams before we get into the lab. Okay, so what we're talking about when we mean a menu. It's got a load of different versions depending on what kind of system you're in, but we're going to start off with really simple things. We've been doing text up until now, so we're going to keep doing text. So all I mean for a menu is where you print out the list of choices that the user has. You tell them what it is you want to do. You provide functions to do that. And importantly, you give a way of coming out. So for example, what we might have is if we wanted to start writing a calculator. Oh, come on, PowerPoint. Did it advance that time?
It did for me.
Right, okay, so you've seen that menu now.
Yeah, type A, type S, type M, type
Yeah, we
D.
see it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is start creating a calculator. So if I can find the right window, let's start making a calculator. Inspired by Pablo, I have moved away from the online one, and what I'm using here is Microsoft Visual Studio Code. I still have issues with my computer. I actually can't install PyCharm on my computer for reasons too various and annoying to go into. But it turns out I can install Visual Studio Code. So that's what I'm doing just now. I've just created a new file. I'm going to save it as a Python file. And I'm going to call it.
Tony, there's
Yep.
an issue with some of us can't see your screen. Like I can, but others cannot.
I can see it.
Okay, who can't see the screen?
Me.
So what are you seeing just now?
Your face.
Okay, can you see it or can't you see it?
It keeps cutting off where I can and cannot see it.
Now he's turned it off.
I've turned it off now, so I was just turning it off and turning it back on again, you know, because I'm a computer guy and that's what we do.
Yep, I can see it again.
Yeah, I can see it again now.
Right, okay. So we are going to create a very quick Python program. You'll notice the same sort of thing happens with this as happens with your things. So as I start typing, it gives me some help. Fills in my brackets for me, fills in my quotes for me. Which is quite handy for me. So what I'm going to start doing is just saying what the options are. So I'm going to start putting in the menu. So press A to add. Press S to subtract. Okay. So we're starting off with a menu. We'll just check that works. So I'm going to hit the play button up here. And down here, we've got the calculator. Press A to add, S to subtract. So far, so good. So we need to get some input. What are we going to use to get input?
Just the input function.
Clues in the question. So we'll set up a new variable called choice. Becomes input please enter your choice. Print choice. It's giving me a red fuzzy line. What's the problem?
There's a space between input and the tabs, no?
Not the reason that is because there's no bracket with choice.
Okay, so it's a function and I forgot to put in my brackets. Yes, I can print choice, but it needs to be in the brackets. Thank you as well, Jack. I don't know if you were before Casey, because I didn't look over at my... Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it again. And I do this all the time. As I'm creating something, I check it as I'm going along. So here's A to add, S to subtract. Please enter your choice, S. And it prints out S. Excellent. It's all going well so far. Okay, so it's a calculator. What else do we need?
Multiply and divide.
Oh yeah, so we can add in extra functions later. I'd literally just kept it to add and subtract just to speed things up. So we'll add in other things afterwards. But
Well, you need to be able to put in your variables, right?
okay, so we need some numbers. How are we going to do that?
Create like an input type and make it become not that input, but like the other one. Yeah, like number becomes an a float value.
I'm not going to call it number. I'm going to call it number 1 on the basis that there's going to be more than one. So input.
That's going to be read as a string though, so you might want to like have this be a float or a integer.
Okay, so what do we want? Do we want it to be a float or do we want it to be an integer? And how do we go about making that happen? Thank you, Jack. Yep. You've missed a bracket, but yep.
I would, put the, I would make it a float because we want actually to be able to calculate decimals as well. So I would put the float and then have the input in the brackets.
You're not sure what's happening? Jack's put the format in there. So we're doing that. And I'm going to break the rule. Because I've already typed it once, I'm happy with it. So I'm going to copy it in this editor and paste it. And I just need to make some changes. Number 2. Second number. Okay, let's test out, see how it goes. Please enter your choice. A. Please enter first number, 3.1. Please enter second number, 3.2. And we've got a, oh, of course, because what we've done was printed out the choice. But I'd kind of like to know what these are as well, just to make sure it's working okay. To make sure that we've got the number, to make sure it's been turned into a float, all that kind of stuff. So I could just repeat this. I could do the print choice again.
You could just have print number 1, comma, choice, and then comma, and then number 2. The same as print.
So we could add them in there. Something like that. But I'm actually going to do something slightly different. Now, it's going to be slightly different in PyCharm. So I'm going to do this in Visual Code. The steps are the same, exactly where you go to it is slightly different in PyCharm, but you'll soon find it. What I'm going to use is some debugging tools. So I've said all along that I want you to do this kind of thing, to print out the variables so that you understand what they are. And I still do want you to view them and understand what they are. But it starts becoming quite tricky as your programs get bigger. You have more print statements in there. You have to check them as you're going along. You then, at the end of the program, have to go delete them or comment them out or something. So what I want to do is use some of the debugging tools that we have. Debugging simply means getting rid of errors. And if you look over here, you'll see that there's a debug run. So it's got a wee icon of a bug with the run. So I'm going to go here, and I've got a few things: variables, watch, call stack. I'm going to get rid of that because it was one I was playing about with for this. So what I want to do is, rather than printing them out as I go along, I'm going to go to that variable and I've right-clicked on it and I've lost the watch. So I'm going to go there, I'm going to go to watch, I'm going to add a watch, and I'm going to watch choice.
I don't think we can do that in PyCharm, can we?
You can. So there is debugging in PyCharm. It's in a slightly different place. You can watch variables exactly the same way.
Copy that.
So I'm going to start watching all these variables. Now I'm going to run it again, but this time it's going to be running while we're watching these variables. Add. Did anybody see it? Did you see it when it flashed up and said what these were? If you
No.
did, you've got better eyes than me. The problem we have is it did do it, but we then immediately printed these things off and exited the program. So we need one other thing with these watch variables. Enrique calls it a stop. I'm going to call it a breakpoint. So if I point here, you can just see that red dot appearing. What this says is, when you get to this point in the program, stop. What it means is it gives you time to check that things are working okay, that things are set up how you expected them to be, to show you then do. So if I just run this again,
I
helps if
saw
you don't-
nothing flash up this time.
helps if you don't put the breakpoint on a non-existent line. What the heck? Why is it not stopping? There we go. Okay, so add. Put in a first number, second number.
Number 2 gave an error.
It hasn't given an error. What I've done here is I've put the stop point. Okay, so there's a stop point before we get our number 2. So we've had a break in the program. The program's still running. It's still there. But if you look over in the watch, you can see the choice is now showing. It was A, and that's good. That's what I put in down here. The number is 5.0. That's even better because I put in 5 and our code had said turn that into a float. So we can see that that's worked. And up here we've got an extra wee toolbar. So what you can do as your programs become more involved is you can choose which bits of the code you want to examine. So you can, for example, if you set up a function, decide to go in and examine what's happening at every step in that function. Or you can just decide, no, I'm happy with that function, just execute it. I'm not going to go into the details of this just now. Feel free to play with them. But I just want to give you a brief overview of how you might use this as you're creating your programs. All I'm going to do just now is keep playing. So here we go, we're back into our program. It's asking me for a number. I've typed it in. You'll notice that the watch has gone away again. We don't know what the numbers are. But as soon as I hit enter, we've got to our second breakpoint. So it's stopped there and it's told us what our variables are. So we can check that everything's working okay. I can continue on and we finish. I'm going to break the program just so that you can understand. Get rid of that one as well. Just so you can understand what I mean by checking that things are okay. So I'm going to run it again in the debug part. That was where I'd gone wrong before. I was just hitting the normal run, but I need to debug it. It goes away, it gets it ready for debugging, so it's slightly more complicated. It takes a wee bit longer for it to set up everything it needs to do the debugging. I get to my program, I add, I enter 7, and I enter 9.2. It gets to the breakpoint, it stops, and this really helps. So over here, I can see that the number that I put in for number 1, 7, has come up 7.0, exactly as I expected. But number 2, it's helpfully put quotes around it and put it in red, which means it's a string. So I can see what's gone wrong with my program. As Jen says, I know that that's a string. I know it's not meant to be a string, so that gives me a clue as to how I'm going to go and fix it. Everyone happy with how that's working?
Yeah. So basically, we're using this watch function for for programs that are too big for us to just look over individual parts, or
Use it for all sizes of program at all times, but it saves you doing these things, these prints, and just stopping it to look. So you wouldn't just have to do a print sometimes. If you're in a loop, for example, you might be printing out something, and it's going too fast for you to keep up. So you might have to put in a break, and so it would print something, then you'd have to print enter. You start getting into all sorts of issues about doing the debug views. So having it built into the editor really helps. And as Pablo says, there's a whole bunch of extensions for something like VS Code that will actually let you view things as they're going on. So if I can go here, one that I can't remember if I installed this or not. Yeah, it isn't. No. So here you can start to preview in a different window everything that's going on. Pablo's right, I installed so many extensions when I first put this in, and then I had to uninstall them just to go back to basics. But you can see here what's happening. You've got variables, it shows you what they are, it shows you what's in them, tells you what type they are. It starts to get really helpful when you're trying to debug things. That doesn't help if you don't know the basics, so make sure you've completed what you have here. But if you want to move on a wee bit more, feel free to play around with these things. So I'm bringing this in not for everybody, but for those who want to do it. And as I say, there's a whole pile of things in here that are really helpful. The first one, of course, being just Python itself. That's the thing that let me just type in print and it started to come up with the print function and showed me how to use it and started filling in the brackets and all that kind of thing. Same as PyCharm does. So I won't install Python Preview just now, but thanks to Pablo annoying me, I now know where my afternoon's going.
So it's not your run again then. This time.
Well, I'll do a run as well, of course. Okay, so I'll not do the preview stuff, partly because I need to install it, but partly because I don't want to get too involved in this. Because I don't want to bring you on too far. So if you want to play with this, please, please do. But if you don't want to get involved in it, don't feel as if you have to. I'm really conscious that I've got 70 people and you're at different levels and you've done different things. So I'm trying to introduce things for those that want to go away and play, but not trying to make it that you have to do it. All right. Another nice wee feature up here, I don't know if you noticed, there's the code, and as you go through it, it actually shows you which part of the code you're in. So again, we've not had anything so large that that'll be an issue, but as you start writing your programs, knowing where you are is really helpful. All right, so let's continue on. We've got a menu, we've got a choice, we've got a couple of numbers. What's the next thing we need to do?
Use the numbers that are taken in to work out calculations in some form.
Okay, so how are we going to do that?
Wouldn't you import math function to deal with math related stuff?
Well, we don't need that yet because basic arithmetic functions are already there. So add and subtract already exist.
So can we just use an if function?
Okay, so what do you want the if function to do?
So if, say, choice if choice equals a colon number 1 plus number, and like print number 1 plus number 2.
Okay, so we'll get something like that. If choice is a, and you'll notice when I had the equals, I said is. So in the same
You're
way as
missing
I've
a
been
colon.
encouraging you for a single equals to say becomes, for a double equals, try and say is. Just something to make it clear what it is you're doing here. So if the choice is A, what we're going to do? Well, we're probably going to need an answer. We'll set up a new variable called answer.
Put a colon
Becomes-
after A first.
Pardon?
A colon after A.
So answer becomes, and I went to start typing number. And one of the nice things about VS Code, it doesn't just show you the inbuilt Python functions. You'll notice that it's also found the variables that I've set up. So there's number
PyCharm does
1
that
and number
too.
2. Sorry?
PyCharm does that too.
Yep. But I know that some people haven't been using that. They haven't actually paused to see what pops up. So whether you're using this or your own PyCharm, keep an eye on these things. They can really help you. So answer becomes number 1 plus number 2. Okay, what else do we need? How are we going to do the subtract instead?
Because we only have 2 variables, you could just say else answer equals number 1 number 1 minus number 2. But like I think the more accurate way would be you could say elif choice is s. Answer becomes number 1 minus number 2.
Exactly what Nicholas said. So you could just use the else, but what I'm going to do is leave it open. So we might want to add in multiply, divide, whatever. So I'm going to put, instead of an else, I'm going to put an elif. Choice is S. Answer becomes number 1 minus number 2.
So is there a reason why we're not adding colons B after our if and elif statements?
I'm just going to print the answer at the end. Yep. Reason is I wanted you to notice it. Jen already had in the chat, of course. So it was going to be a more general pointing out of issues, and as Nicholas pointed out and as Jen had already pointed out in the chat, and that immediately gets rid of some of our red wavy underline. So it's the same sort of stuff as you see in Office, same as you see if you mistype or you misspell in Word. Got another question though.
S is missing it as well.
S is missing it. But why is answer wavy and why is print wavy? Print's fine. Why is it upset with that?
It's not. How do you say?
Sorry, Pablo, you're very quiet.
It's not in the same line. My brain's not functioning. How do you say it? Like when it's it has to be in the same. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just basically just move
Missing
it
a
forward.
colon-
Yeah, indentation.
Colon on the elif
that thing.
statement and the space. There's a missing colon on the elif statement, and that's why the answer is problematic, let's say.
Maybe
So-
because the if statement is not closed yet.
Yeah, the elif statement isn't closed, like the colon's not there. That's why it probably misreads answer and print as something that comes directly after S, which it can't compute.
Right, so what we're seeing is an error that we've made here isn't only correctly showing up an error here, but also incorrectly showing up an error here. Abayomi, we're in week 7. I understand that you've only just joined, but you'll understand that I can't go over the last 14 hours of lectures right now. We'll have a chat in the lab, okay?
All of the previous lectures with voiceovers and things like that are available on Ola if you want to have a click through those.
Yeah, every class is recorded.
Which is one of the things I'm going to tell them in the lab.
Gotcha.
Okay, so sometimes you'll get errors that actually aren't errors. And again, you'll see this in PyCharm as well. So sometimes people look at this and go, what's wrong with the print? And obsess over the print. Make sure that you fixed everything else first. So as soon as we hit that colon, it doesn't only fix answer, it fixes print. So just be careful on what you think is going wrong and what isn't. So I'm just going to add an extra watch variable. I'm going to watch answer. I set a breakpoint just before we print it, and we're going to try running this and see what happens. So there's my calculator. I'm going to add. I'll enter my first number. I'll enter my second number. Whoa, okay. Whole pile of things there that we've got.
Yep.
So-
That's because you've lowercase e.
Can
and
you
you
speak
put,
up a wee bit, Tamir? You're very quiet.
I was saying that's because you put a lowercase e and you need to put a capital one. An uppercase e because that's what you put in the menu.
But that's not the problem with the answer. It's just reporting that the answer is already defined. That's why it's the error. Like, it's not really an error, but
It
You
is
get
an
the
error
point.
because if he's put in A, but if the answer equals capital A, it will not work. So you would need to make either change your input to an upper or the lowercase to verify whether or not so it can go through the conditioning.
yes, but that's not why it's flagged. and saying why is it flagged? Because it's already defined.
So do we have a consensus?
Definitely not.
It's a problem with the if statement, yeah? The input was wrong, definitely. But why is it flagged the answer? Because I'm running the same code in PyCharm. It just said the name is already defined. It will run it, it will still work. But it's just like a small error, let's say.
I'm going to finish off, and it said exception has occurred, answer is not defined.
Hi, so answer is not defined because the if statement is not running.
Yeah, because a small a and a capital A are different. So small a is not
That-
defined in the if statement.
Okay,
Because
so let's break that down a wee bit. You're all correct, so I'm just going to do it a wee bit slowly for those that aren't quite sure what we're talking about here. I'm going to set a breakpoint there, and I'm going to run it again. So we've got to A, so add, we'll put in a number, put in another number, and it's got to the if, and it's going to pause. So is the choice A?
Yes, but no.
you could put in a statement of
If you add an or and add a small number, small letter, then yeah, it would work.
In order to avoid this, you could say press 0 to add and press 1 to subtract. In that case, you avoid like upper and lower case errors like this.
You could, but I actually don't like that answer. Because what you're doing is making the user work to think about something. If you're writing a calculator, A for add is easy, or at least if English is your first language, it is. Having to mentally say, I want to add, therefore it's 0, or I want to subtract, therefore it's 1, adds an extra layer onto the end user. Sorry, Jen, did you say something? No. No.
No, I was just talking to Pablo. Enrique, sorry.
So we've got a check on whether the answer, whether the choice is a capital A. But actually, choice is a lowercase a, so they're not the same. So if we keep working through, it's jumped over this one, so the answer hasn't been set. So it goes to do the elif. Elif choice is S. Well, upper or lowercase a is not the same as S, so we move on. It jumps over this one as well. It never sets answer. So answer that we're going to print out has never been defined. So when we get there, it can't print it out and it gets very upset. So does anyone get any questions on that before we move on? Are you happy how that's worked? And if you are happy how it's worked, how are we going to fix it?
Well, it was said before, you can just say A or lowercase a, and then S or lowercase s.
Okay, so we might.
Also, no. You could put an else in it. So if it's none of them, then you put an else and then force them to like ask the question again.
Okay, so we might want to loop around and ask the question again if none of those work. So we'll come back to that one just now. One of the things we could do, of course, with any variable, and we always have an issue, is we could just set it up. Or and if we run that this time, it will be happy.
We could also use a function like capitalize in the input function to make it always read as a capital. Wouldn't that work?
Yes, it would. So let's first of all, I'm kind of going back because so many people throwing in a lot of good suggestions. I'm trying to work my way back in my head, and I think the first one that someone said was, let's just check whether the choice is A or A. Do you all know what I mean by or?
It basically will follow this part of the if statement if either capital A or small case a is being met.
It's just a logical operator. If one of them is true, it will run the statement.
So some of you have come across Boolean operators before. In fact, hopefully all of you will now. So whether you are a direct entry into third year or you've just started in first year where you've been doing computer systems, you should have been doing Boolean logic. It just means that we can check multiple terms at once to see whether they are true or not. So it's things like and or not. So we're going to use or. So what we've said is if choice is capital A or lowercase a, we want it to work just the same. So let's see if that works. A, 2, 3. Ooh, answer is 5. Excellent. Our calculator is making progress. Please enter your choice. S, 2, 3. The answer is 5.
Hold on a minute. Wait a second, this can't be right.
Alright, wait. There's something wrong there.
Well, we have to add the small case s as well, right? I mean, or is that, no, that can't be it because it went with the addition.
Right,
Yeah, because it just kept the first one it remembered. Needs a or small s to run the second.
Yeah, sure, but then why did it go with A? We never told it to.
So why is answer 5.0? Like, why?
Okay, so there's it working properly. Let's see what happens if we run it again. So what we've got S, we've got 2 and we've got 3 as we expected. It's decided to go in there. So I've said to go into the next one and it's actually gone in there. So if choice is A or A.
Could it have to do with single or double quotation marks? Or is that just like semantics?
I was coming on to Declan's question, you can use either. So no, it doesn't make any difference. So stop that and I'll just put that back into single quotes. And I'll run it again. What we need to do is we need to make sure that what seems sensible to us in our head is what the computer's expecting. Remember what I said right back in day one. Computers are thick. If I say to you, is choice A or A? You mentally go, is choice the same as capital A? Or is choice the same as lowercase a?
Oh, right. Okay, so you need to write choice again.
So if choice equals equal, like if choice is capital A or choice is smaller case a.
Tamir, you're quite right, as are you, Nicholas. So we get to this kind of stage. We have to do the comparison twice and see what we're comparing it against. And wouldn't work, and works slightly differently because it would have to be simultaneously capital A and lowercase a, which would never work. But hopefully, this time, so S, 2, 3. So we've got choices S, number 1 is 2, number 2 is 3. And I'm just going to step into, so all I'm doing is using the debugging and it will go to the next line. So we've stopped here, the one that's highlighted in yellow. We're going to go to the next line. And that's what we wanted. It's jumped over this line here because the choice wasn't capital A or lowercase a, it was something else. So it's jumped up here and we can work our way through the rest of the program now. And that's what we wanted. So
this all seems like if we had like, say, now multiplication and division and like other functions as well, wouldn't this get a bit more, would this get a bit like difficult to add for every single one? So wouldn't it be easier to just edit the initial input to be always capital? So like with like a dot capitalized statement or something like that. So the function always gets a capital letter?
Yes, which is exactly where I was working up to, because we're going to have to do this for everything. And as you rightly say, if we start to add in extra options, not surprisingly, we're going to have to add in extra code to cope with that. That's fine, that's what we'd expect. But we're going to have to cope with the versions. What does the minus get changed to?
Star.
Asterisk. Star, if you like. So our menu has built up. We'll hit our M, 2, 3, answer 6.
Wow.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Who knew that 2 times 3 is 6? But you see what we're doing, we're starting to build it up. We're starting to cope with user issues. So we don't want the user having to think, oh, is it a capital M, is it a lowercase m? We just want them to be able to hit M and not think about it. And that's a key point for any of the stuff that we do. We take the time, we make the effort so that our users don't have to. Anything else we want to add into this block here?
Yeah, in case the user enters a different letter, not an S, not an A, not an M.
Then
So
just
what
add
do
an
you want to put in?
else statement.
Aye, just for an
And
error.
an else. And what do you want to put in the else?
Please choose, like print, please choose, like please type in a letter as specified above, and then we start the program.
Please choose a
I've
valid
cut that
option.
down a wee bit to unknown function, but yeah, great idea. So now we can run this. Oh, man, what have I forgotten? Yes, Jack, we need a colon. And I should actually have stopped. I should have paused to quickly check whether there was red underlines.
Visual Studio Code is actually also really useful because in the top right it has like a window with like a very like small version of your code, and it highlights the lines that there are mistakes in red. So if you remove the colon from there, it'd see like it now
What he's
highlights
meaning
as
is
red.
this thing up here. So in the same way as it shows you where you are in your code, it also gives you the red lines. Although do be careful, because of course there's 2 red lines there saying where there's a mistake in the code. None of them are mistakes. The mistake actually happens before that.
Yeah, so usually in these sorts of situations, you always go to like the first line where the first red line where the mistake is, and then you see where there's a mistake that causes all the other things to go, off rails.
So as a general thing, fix first things first. There's our program working, and there's our program not working. Unknown function, the answer is undefined. So we're starting to add in functionality, and we're also starting to allow the user to make mistakes. Anybody get any questions about that before we move on?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So we have our menu, we have our choices, we have some examples, we have some error checking, and here we've got a wee bit of extra error checking. So here we've got some code where it's division. There's an extra one, an extra check in here for the second number, because as you may know, you can't divide by 0. So if the second number is 2 and your function was divide, tell them you can't divide by 0. Otherwise you can set the answer. We've already done the invalid entry thing. It might be upper or lower case, so we've set the or. Somewhere, there we go.
Tony,
Yeah.
would choice.upper not have worked?
Yes, it would have.
Aye.
For those that are wondering about that question, there is a method that you can attach which basically changes the case of the input. So you could, for example, every time you get an input, make it uppercase or make it lowercase, and then it means you only have to check for one input. It's quite a common thing for any sort of input system, and it means that you don't have to worry about every combination. So say, for example, it was a database and you're searching for my name, you would have to say if input is capital T O N Y, or T capital O N Y, or T O capital N Y, or T O N capital Y, and every other combination, capital T capital O N Y. So you can add in extra functions to just say make it all uppercase, make it all lowercase, and check against those. The reason I haven't done that in Semana is that we haven't got to methods yet. So for those of you that have got there, absolutely go for it. For those that haven't, don't worry about it just now. Roland, you can have a check with the calculator and see whether it can use that. Okay, so we've got ORs. I want to make a new file just to look at some of these logical operators, because I still have a question, and maybe somebody can help me. We fixed the if choice is, what was it, A, or choice, if choice is A or A. But I still haven't quite worked out why that worked out for S. So we fixed it to make it work, but I'm not sure why it accepted S, because S, it wasn't capital A or lowercase a. So remember we had this, if choice is A or A. And it just added them instead. Anybody?
So my prediction here is that the letters themselves don't matter. Like right now, what it's saying is if your choice is uppercase or lowercase. And so like it doesn't take any letters into account. It just always goes with the first statement, because what you have described here is if either he typed in an uppercase letter or he typed in a lowercase letter.
I'm not sure I'm following that, Nicholas.
All right. Maybe that is, maybe it's just like a weird thing that I thought of, but I meant as in like the letters A or A don't matter. It just like their case that becomes important when you write it like that.
No. Let's do some checks here. So let's see what's going to happen. Choice becomes input. If choice is A, print A. Okay, so just as simple as we possibly can. Oops. So type in A, it prints A. Type in B, it doesn't print anything. Roland's ahead of you. So LF, we're going to add in our next letter because B didn't work. So we're going to add in B. And we'll run that again. So A, yep, works for A. B, yep, works for B. C, what? Why does it think C is B?
So maybe it remembers the last statement.
Nope.
Oh, wait, so going off of what Roland said, I guess it just checks if B exists, and if it exists, it goes with that part of the loop.
Right. It's just saying, is B, is Roland, is Tamur, is Nicholas, is Ansumana. They exist, they are, therefore it's true. So the LFB is always true because B is a thing.
I mean, Roland, LFB is a condition. It's just a condition that's always true.
Correct. So I can change that to zebra or Roland, and it will always work no matter what I type in, because the Roland is always true. So you need to make sure what you're comparing against. LFB is a condition, Roland, but it's just a condition that's always true. So you need to make sure that you're comparing it against something. So if we run that again, A works, B works, C doesn't work. Okay, happy with that so far?
I'm happy with that.
And remember what we did before. We did this. We put in upper or lower case. That was where it went wrong for us. So if we type in C, it works because B exists. If the choice is B, well, it wasn't, it was C, or B exists.
So I guess putting like B or capital B in brackets won't solve this.
I'm just about to get to that. See what you mean now. Yep, just about to get there.
Gotcha.
Ah. Oh, come on, computer, you stupid. Right, there we go. So, choice is B. Well, that was false. Because our choice was C. Just going to change that color because that's what I have to see. So choice is B is false. But we've said or B, and B is always true. Zebra is always true. So we need to know what happens if we have something or something where one is false and one is true. And an or says only one of the things has to be true. So because that's always true, it always works. If you're not sure about this, go back to your logic stuff from previous times. So, yeah. We fixed it before by saying or choice is. And this is what I was wanting to do, Roland, is just to remind ourselves what it is we're doing. I'm going to always put brackets around these. Hopefully in the right place. So we can always understand what it is we're doing. So that makes it clear if it's choice is B or the choice is capital B. If we had those in brackets to begin with, we can see exactly where the issue is.
So what if it was like LF choice is open bracket capital B or smaller b close bracket?
So you mean like that?
Yeah, what would happen then?
Well, you tell me.
I mean, like open the bracket after the is part. So like small b and capital B are I guess this won't
What
work
you
though,
want
right?
to do is that, I think.
Yeah, that.
What do we think? Will that work?
I don't think it's gonna work, but you know, as a train of thought.
Okay, well, before we try it, let's try and understand, is this true or false?
That's true. It's
Is
always
this true or
true.
false?
It's always true. Okay.
Okay, so let's try it. We'll try it with B. B, that's fine. And we'll try it with, oops. And we'll try it with C.
Wait, so did it work?
You tell me.
I mean, it didn't give us B.
A works.
Oh, okay.
B
So
works.
C doesn't work. So that actually works in that case. Aha. Okay.
Aha.
All right. I was wrong to doubt myself.
So we've got a few of these things. We've got or, where one of the things can be true. We've got and, where both the conditions have to be true. And we can see here, here we're using a less than. So it's for all of these operators, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, the same as, whatever it happens to be. So we've got and, where both need to be true. We've got or, where only one needs to be true. So only one of the results needs to be true. And we've got not, which is where we want something to happen if the answer is not true. So here you've got the example, enter a number less than 7. And if it's not less than 7, print, well, that's not less than 7. Okay, so we'll get and, or, and not. And as we've already seen, we can then use those to play around with our menu options to use Roland, yes you can, and we'll do that in about 3 weeks, I think. Okay, so we can start setting up our menu, we can get some input, we can do certain things depending on what it is we want to happen, and we can also cope with some errors, whether it's an error in terms of how they enter it or the data that they enter. Anybody get any questions about any of that before we go on? Nope.
So basically, what all of this in this slide that you're showing right now is pretty much unnecessary. What they wrote is menu choice is A or menu choice is B, and they could just like add brackets around A and small a or something like that.
You could make up a list and decide which items you wanted to allow and then check the list. So instead of doing them individually, you can do the list all at once. But we haven't really got to lists, so as I say, we'll get to that at some point, just not just now.
Gotcha.
All right, if nobody's got any questions, then we have, not surprisingly, some exercises. I want to set up a menu. I want to look up the Zen of Python. So there's about 19 of them. And it's going to say, please enter which of the items you want. Don't do all 19 of them, do half a dozen. Finish off the calculator. Add in as many other functions as you can think of. It's certainly modulus, floor division, and exponentiation. We did those in week 2 or something. If
With the math function, we can also do like sine, cosines, and tangents and things like that.
which is why I'm saying extend it as far as you want, but at least these things. So those of you that are keen on importing math and wanting to do other things, absolutely, go for it. Those of you who aren't quite there yet, that's fine, but at least add in these.
So is there no like lab that's actually meant for this week coming in? Or is it just those little things?
I'm getting there. Give me a break. Oh, come on, you stupid computer.
I don't know what you did, but every time you say, come on, you stupid computer, it seems to work right after that.
Scared of me. Decades in computer support. The only way I can ever make them work is to threaten them.
That will be the Visual Studio devouring the RAM.
Or just put an SSD in it. That also fixes things.
So the lab, we've already covered 3 of them from the lecture. So the first 3 are the things I've just covered. The 4th one, slightly different, but similar. So another menu system, but to do something slightly different. That'll be in the lab by the time we start it. I haven't uploaded it yet. In fact, well, actually it might be uploaded by now. Anybody have any questions?
Did somebody set break?
I haven't, but I will be shortly. Right, so it's not in Teams just now, but as I say, it will be momentarily. Anybody got any questions? Okay, in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording.